You know what it is, Monday, January 30th. Give us this day our daily bread. Welcome to Daily Bets. I'm Dane Martinez, the Spittin Statistician, and with me today is my guy Kyle Murray as we dig into some NBA props. Kyle, it's been a little while since we've chit-chatted it up. An interesting time in the NBA season. We've got the trade deadline upon us, a little bit of a lull before the All-Star game, I kind of realized, but no shortage of games out there on tonight's slate and no shortage of props to find. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's been kind of a weird time for NBA. Lots of news to follow, especially the past couple days with all the weekend basketball. Obviously, you get
Yeah.
guys ruled out all the time. So, and then obviously all the Lakers are out tonight too. So we'll see how that shakes things out. But yeah, I got three picks I really like today, and looking forward to the slate.
All right, sounds good. And if Kyle really likes it, you got to get down on it. Follow him on Twitter. And of course, watch, subscribe, like what you see here on YouTube, as well as FTN Bets, giving you everything you need to get a little bit of extra cash going into the next month. So we've got Warriors and Thunder as a game that we've both found a prop in. Why don't we start with yours? I'm interested to see how you play this game. What do you see on the Thunder side that you like?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a pretty interesting game environment. Like, obviously, you have a handful of really, strong producers and high-profile players, so that's
Sure.
always something that's fun to look at. But also, both of these teams play extremely fast. Both teams in the top four in adjusted pace so far this season, and obviously the 243 total kind of shows that. And then obviously Golden State also kind of playing down a little bit this year, and so this game has the potential to stay pretty close, 5-point spread. So I'm looking at Josh Giddey over 5.5 assists here. My model has him for almost 7, about 6.75 assists is where I project him for tonight. So I like the projection compared to the number, obviously, which is kind of the baseline for where I start. But
Sure.
then looking at some research stuff, bottom 10 in assists allowed the Golden State Warriors rank. And then when you look at his last 9 games, Giddy's gone over this number in 6 of those games. And he has upside to go way over this number. Like, he has 12 plus assist upside, especially in an environment like this that should be very high paced. So I think that the 5.5 line, it looks like it's a kind of a median average over his last 10 games or so, and obviously he's averaging just under 6 on the year. But this is one of those guys that has the ceiling to go way over this number. So I don't even mind taking a ladder on Giddey assists up to like 10 or so. So Giddey always has that triple double upside and definitely has 10
Yeah.
plus assist upside in his repertoire.
No, that's interesting. And I was going to ask you that about the latter potential, right? Because this number at 5.5, you think 10, 12 is the potential. So again, how would you break that out? Would
Yeah.
you go even heavier on your normal play, say the over 5.5, maybe make that a 1.5 or 2 unit play, and then maybe half a unit? And then how do you spread it out? Do you go straight to the 10 plus? Do you do a little trickle on 8 plus and 10 plus? How do you kind of allocate the resources when you say it's a potential ladder play?
Yeah, so it all depends on what kind of the lines are for the alternate line. So, for example,
Sure.
obviously 6 isn't going to do anything because the line's at 5. But you look at 8, it's at plus 260. For 10, it's at plus 700, and then for he actually doesn't have a 12 plus. But so like for example, if you wanted to just throw, I would probably throw 2 units on the baseline at 5.5, and then I would throw probably 1 on the 8 plus, and then a half unit on the 10 plus. Or if you
Okay.
wanted to just go for the more upside, go for the fun sweat, maybe ignore the 8 plus and then throw a unit on the 10 plus.
All right, fair enough. 7-1 if Josh Giddey can get to double figures when it comes to his assists tonight. And like you said, he's got triple double potential. I mean, there was a stretch a couple of weeks ago where he was coming around a triple double like 3, 4, 5 games in a row, maybe only missing out by 1 rebound here, 1 assist here. So we like that Josh Giddey over 5.5 assists. I'm on someone on the other side here, Kyle. I'm on Draymond Green in this game. You said some of the reasons why. These are two of the faster paced teams in the NBA. You see a very high total. I've also seen that the Oklahoma City Thunder, they allow the most rebounds per game to their opponents of anybody in the NBA, Kyle. They also allow the most specifically to the power forward position. So I look at who's playing power forward, and oh my, it is Draymond Green, and I'm going over his number of 8.5 rebounds in this game. You said it before with the pace. I also looked, Kyle, and he's gone over this number in 3 of his last 4 games. And in those 3 games, not only did he go over 8.5, but he had 11 plus in those games. I think it was 11, 14, and 13. So he definitely has it there, that potential, like you said, to really surpass this number. And Oklahoma City, in terms of their shooting percentage, they're also bottom 10 in the NBA. So to me, a faster pace, poor shooting team means more opportunity for rebounds. Oklahoma City gives up the rebounds, gives it up to the power forward position. So all that to me means Draymond Green can go over his number of 8.5 boards. But I do have a question to ask you about this one. Okay, because as I was doing, digging in for this game, I love the Draymond number. But one thing I saw was that today we expect the return of Andrew Wiggins as well, and that Golden State in the last couple of games were kind of going small a couple times, leaving Looney out, leading to more even rebounds for Draymond. Should I be scared at all about the return of Andrew Wiggins and what that could do for some of the rebounding potential of Draymond, or do you think there's enough to go around in this one?
I wouldn't really be too worried about it. Let me see if I can pull up a sample real quick with Wiggins and Draymond sharing the floor and see if that changes anything rebound wise. But I wouldn't be too worried about that. I will say the one, like the real big rebounding upside where we've seen the 11 plus in those 3-game stretch, he was starting at center for those games. So if you get him starting at center, that would probably be, probably makes a little bit more comfortable. Yeah. And it's not like the Thunder have a ton of size. Like they do have Muscala alongside there, but I have him for like 12 to 14 minutes tonight, but you're going to see a lot of like Kenrick Williams, Aaron Wiggins on the other side for the Thunder, kind of getting minutes as like the big four, or I guess even as a small five. So I think that's one thing to really like about Draymond in this spot. If he's going to get more minutes at the five, that's really interesting. And then looking at time on the floor with both those guys, looks like his rebounding rate is about the same. Yeah, it's actually the exact same, 0.24 rebounds per minute there with Wiggins on the floor.
All right, so I'm going with Draymond Green over the 8.5. I got something on the Warriors side. Kyle had something on the Thunder side in that game. Now, Kyle, there's another game where we both have props in the game. It's the Washington Wizards going to Texas, to San Antonio to see the Spurs. And I mean, the Spurs are one of these teams that I think need to start, realizing that they should be tanking for Wembanyama at this point, right? And they have a very poor defense, in my opinion. I'm on a points prop, but before we get to that, you are on a rebounding prop of someone who's been scalding hot lately for the Wizards.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at Kyle Kuzma here. He's playing a ton of minutes, and that's really the big inclination there. Now, when you look at his rebounding prop compared to my projection, you're not going to see that big of an edge. I haven't projected for right around 7.9 rebounds here, but the reason why I still like this bet is because it's plus money. Plus 110 is where I found it over on DraftKings, and you might be able to even shop around and find a little bit better of a number there. So that's kind of the reasoning behind the projection compared to the line. But with Porzingis on the floor, I do expect Porzingis to return here. Kuzma's actually posted better rebounding numbers this season with Porzingis on the floor. I think a big part of that is taking Daniel Gafford out of the equation a little bit and adding Porzingis, who's a good rebounder in his own right, but not nearly as good as Gafford from a per minute standpoint there. So Kuzma has done better with Porzingis alongside there. And like you mentioned, the matchup, this team is very inefficient from an offensive perspective as well. The Spurs are, and that's going to allow more rebounding opportunities. Now, in terms of rebounds allowed and potential rebounding, you actually see a nice little margin from potential rebound opportunities and rebounds converted. So I'm actually expecting a little bit of positive regression for opposing rebounders here against the Spurs. And over his last 5 games, he's averaging over 9 rebounds per game. And in 3 of his last 5, he's gone 10 plus rebounds. So I like Kuzma and his rebounding prop here over 7.5 at plus money.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things Kyle mentioned was kind of shop around. You may be able to get a different number. And that reminds me, definitely go on over to FTN Bets. One of the things they do so well is with the prop shop. Okay. So you could enter in, say, a Kyle Kuzma. You could enter in anybody, quite frankly, and see what all of the shops have them in. Shop around, because you could get a different number. Or even if you don't get a different number, you can get different juice on that number. You know what I mean? Like, for example, one of my props, I saw at minus 110 in some places and plus 110 in others, even though it was the same number. So there is no need, definitely have the need to shop around. So I'm in this game as well. I want to get your thoughts on it too. I'm in this game. I'm on the Washington side, and I'm taking Bradley Beal to go over his points number, Kyle, which stands at 22.5. Now, here's the thing, okay? Bradley Beal has been back, what has been like 5 games, I think, since he's been back from injury. And he actually, Kyle, I must admit, has not gone over this number yet. Okay. And I wanted to ask you for a couple reasons, because you, my friend, are the minute by minute projections guy here over at FTN. And I've noticed that, he's gotten like 17 points, 18 points, but I've also noticed that since he's been back, He's only had minutes in like the high 20s, low 30s. That is not normal for Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is normally a guy who's out there 35, 38, even 40 minutes in a game. And I've seen that since he's been back, his minutes have been increasing each game and getting more and more time on the floor. So I expect that to continue. In his last couple of games, he's also just had kind of un-Bradley Beal-like shooting performances. I mean, 5 of 17 in one game. I think 7 of 17 in another game. So I expect him to have more time on the floor. I expect him to kind of be rounding into form. And then we talked about the environment against the San Antonio Spurs, right? The Spurs give up 122 points a game. That is the worst in the NBA, Kyle, So I think the conditions are there for Washington to score. And I think Beal is kind of rounding into form. Here's my question for you. So I'm on the over, even though he hasn't gone over this game in his 5 games back. I think he's going to do more, be more efficient, and get over this number. But the other kind of factor here, you referenced it, is the likely return of the unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis, in this one. Now, I see a number listed for him. I see like 20.5 listed for him kind of in some places, but this will be his first game back. I don't know if I should expect full minutes out of him being Kristaps Porzingis, and what the kind of usage would really be for guys like Kuzma and Beal specifically. So let me ask you a couple of questions about my prop here on Bradley Beal. One, do you also expect maybe his minutes to continue to increase as he gets more and more into the flow? And generally, what do you do? Because I know you're a minute-by-minute projections guy. What do you do with someone like Porzingis coming back? Do you kind of assume the full complement of minutes in their first game back?
It all depends on, a lot of different things, like who the player is,
Sure.
what the injury is, all that stuff. So for tonight, I have Porzingis for like 32.5 minutes, which is a little bit lower than his average.
Okay.
And another thing I like to do is like look at minutes that they got after returning from a previous injury. And again, it all depends on what the previous injury was. Like, you can tell, like, sometimes, like, for example, players can return from a broken finger and they don't miss a beat. They can play the same amount of minutes, but it could be a knee or an ankle injury and then they're limited. So it all depends on the injury. But so for tonight, I have Porzingis for 32.5. Last time he returned from an injury, that was a multi-game injury. He missed 2 games, returned on the 23rd, played 34 minutes, and he missed 3 games here. So I'm probably expecting something a little bit similar, but because it's an ankle, I bumped him down a little bit. But for Beal, the one thing about him is they have a lot of guards here that they like to give minutes to. Like, you see DeLon Wright earning minutes, Monty Morris earning minutes.
Yeah.
They love to play Corey Kispert minutes, and then even Kendrick Nunn now getting involved. He played 22 minutes 2 games ago, and Nunn played 18 minutes last game. So with all of these guys kind of getting minutes, I only have Beal for about 31.5 minutes now. If you're right and he goes over that number, I do agree. This is a great matchup. Even in only 31.5 minutes, I am for 21 points here tonight.
Okay.
And so let's just actually real quick, let's say I bump up his minutes to let's say
34.
Yeah, 34 minutes. That puts his projection up to 23.5 points. So the minutes is obviously going to be a big thing here. Obviously, it's an elite matchup here, and this is the first run or two of the projection. So by the end of the day, I could have Beal for more minutes. But yeah, currently have him at 31.5 or so.
That's fair.
But like, to your point though, this matchup is so elite. Like, this Spurs defense they're in the laughable territory where you just laugh at them and how bad they are. But Beal is
someone's going to get something tonight. Someone's going to get something tonight. They also give up, I think, the most points per game to the shooting guard position, Kyle, specifically. So you're right. They are rotating a lot of guys in there. But I do think that Beal, as he gets kind of his feet under him a little bit more, maybe it's driven by the minutes. So we shall see. But I think Beal can go off. And to me, 22.5 is not a huge number. So I'm going over that one. And Kyle, let me know if the minutes goes up a little bit as you continue to run those projections, because then I will certainly maybe add more to this bet. But that's that game. I know you had a play in Washington, San Antonio. So did I. You had a play in OKC, Golden State. So did I. Your final play, and you referenced it at the top of the show, is that the Los Angeles Lakers, we don't know who's playing for them, but we do know that without Kevin Durant on the Brooklyn side, who has really been the alpha male for the Nets, and you're riding him tonight.
Yeah, I would monitor this because I wouldn't be that surprised if Kyrie sits in this spot. Like, it just seems like a spot where it's like, okay. And I feel like in the NBA that happens all the time. With one team says, "Oh, we're going to sit our guys," and the other team follows suit. Like, that's something I would keep in mind. But if he plays, he should smash here. Like, there's nobody else on this team that's going to take shots. Like, and we always think of like Nick Claxton as like a pretty low usage guy. He is going to be second on this team in terms of usage behind Kyrie. Even though you have Ben Simmons here, I guess Seth Curry might
Seth
get a few
Curry,
more
yeah.
shots. Yeah, but it's not like Seth Curry's going to like have the ball in his hands and like be creating his own shots. So, for example, I do have Seth Curry projected pretty well tonight, actually for 20 points, which is a really good number there. But Kyrie, I have for over 34 points tonight in this spot against the Lakers. The Lakers also are a really good matchup for production. They are 6th in pace, 21st in defensive efficiency. And then obviously taking Anthony Davis is off the floor is going to make that defensive efficiency even worse. Then you add Thomas Bryant on the floor, not a great defender, so that's even going to help things even more. They're 27th in points allowed, 18th in three-pointers allowed, and they rank 20th against opposing point guards. So all the matchup stuff checks a lot of boxes here. And then you look at how Kyrie's been performing. He's been over 32 plus points in 4 of his last 5, including averaging 38 points per game in the last 5. They're going over 40 in 2 of his last 5. So a lot of big games here for Kyrie. Sometimes I like to stay away from really big numbers, but for a guy who is going to have a ton of usage and who is in a really good matchup, it's going to be a spot that I look for here for Kyrie over 30.5.
Yeah, and honestly, Kyle, I don't care about staying away from the big numbers. We're seeing more and more guys put up 40 burgers, 50 burgers, 60 at times this season, especially for the kind of stars of the league. It seems like 40 is the new 30 in many more ways than one, if you want to know the truth. So there we are on Daily Bets. We've got 5 props in the association tonight, 2 from the Thunder Warriors game, another 2 from Spurs and Wizards, and then Kyrie Irving, if he plays, because you're right, they could be like, oh, you're going to sub everybody out and sit everybody. We'll do the same and make this a B squad game. So remember, we're recording this kind of in the afternoon around 2 o'clock Eastern time here. Make sure you check in as always to see availability after the shoot arounds. Obviously, what props are listed, what props are not. And remember, go on over to the prop shop, of course, to try to get the best of the number. But thanks, Kyle, for hanging out with us. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more either later in the week, because we got to do some golf talking as well now that the PGA swing has started out there on the West Coast. So tomorrow on Daily Bets, I'm going to have my guy Mike Randall. He's going to join the show. We'll talk about a little bit of college basketball as we start to get deep into conference season and into the bubble watch is really starting. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Make sure you follow Kyle on Twitter. I'm Spittin Speeds on Twitter as well. Hopefully this is your daily bread for the day. Come on back tomorrow. Your bank account will thank you, and so will we, because you'll be tuning into Daily Bets. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.